Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I will admit I feel a little tired today. It has been a wild and crazy couple of weeks over here. A lot of ups and downs, a lot of joyful moments and some sad ones too. And we are getting ready to wrap up our school year in a couple of days. And so we had graduation about a week ago. And so there's just a lot of emotions involved in all of that. And also for me, for the last day of school. And so, yeah, we are kind of trying to work through all of that in our house now. And it's been a good month, but it's been an emotional one. So I have a couple of things that I want to talk about in this video. I am going to do a Q&A that I was getting a bunch of questions just talking about graduation on my Instagram page. And so I thought that it would be a good idea to do a full high school, homeschooling high school video, answer all of your questions, kind of tell you how we do high school and our homeschool and what that has looked like. Some things that I feel pretty strongly about and maybe will ruffle a few feathers, but I think that's okay. I think we can all still be friends at the end. But before we get into that, before we talk about homeschooling high school and get to all your questions, I wanted to share with you about the Fill Your Cup bundle that just went live Tuesday, May 28th, and it runs through Tuesday, June 4th. So it is just 1 week. That's all it is, and then it is gone forever. This is a bundle that is filled with $700 worth of ebooks and PDFs and online courses and digital magazines and so much more, and all for only $25, which is amazing. These resources were gathered from your favorite authors, influencers, homeschool moms. We're all just homeschool moms, and they were all created to support and encourage you in your home and your homeschool and your family with a biblical worldview. So I like so many of the resources in this bundle. There are a couple of recipe books that I thought were really amazing. One on hosting and hospitality, which I loved, and like kind of some planning tools incorporated in those. Also, there's a couple resources that include workout plans. So I feel like summer is a great time to really hone in on some of that like true self-care, not kind of some pie in the sky idea of self-care where you're pushing everyone out of your house so that you can just take a long hot bubble bath or something, but actual self-care where you're like actually doing something for your body, for your mind, to help your health, whatever it is that you need to do that actually is going to carry you throughout the week and help you be a better mom and wife and homeschool mom. So I loved those resources. What I contributed was something I'm really excited about. So what we did is we are just working on our 12th issue of Learning Well Journal. And what we did for the bundle is we took a conglomeration of the 11 previous issues of Learning Well Journal, and we put them, we picked and chose kind of some of our favorite articles, some of the articles that we feel would give people a really good idea of what Learning Well Journal is all about. And we compiled them all into one massive issue, a digital issue just for this bundle. And so I think it's going to be really fun for people to open that up and see that. So if you have not checked out Learning Well Journal, or if you've just recently subscribed and want to see some of the pages of previous issues, this is a great way to do that. This is a great way to see some of the pages of issues that have been sold out for a long time and you can't get them anymore. So anyway, that was our contribution. It's a really great resource. I think it'll be really helpful. And so anyway, go check that out and grab your bundle before June 4th. Okay, you guys, I am going to get to your questions. It is very dark and rainy and stormy here today. We kind of keep having storms every couple of hours, so it's kind of shadowy and cozy in here, but I hope that's okay as far as quality goes. I've got all of your questions here written out, and I am going to try to bust through these, and I really hope that it helps to encourage you guys to go ahead and homeschool for high school. I feel like there is sort of a stigma in the homeschool community where it's like, okay, kindergarten through 8th grade, I can totally do that. But as soon as we get to high school, then I don't know, it's like above my head. But I feel like, I don't know, you probably have a high school diploma. So there should be nothing stopping you from teaching your kid their high school years too. Also, if you can read, you can learn and you can help your kids learn. And so I just encourage you, these are some of the most fun, most rich, most deep, and I would say pivotal years of your homeschool. You actually have the opportunity to teach your kids like real life adult stuff that they're really not ready for before high school. And so I have loved teaching my kids high school. I will say, having now 2 graduates, these are some of the best years, and I love all the years, but I want to encourage you that if you are kind of getting up there in years with your kids and you're feeling a little bit sad about the little years slipping away, it's okay, because the older years are just as wonderful as well. And in some ways, it feels like your relationship with your kids are changing in a way, because you're kind of talking on the same level as some things. You're researching kind of the same things. You're talking about current events. You're talking about worldview. You're really honing in on things that are going to shape them as adults. And I feel like this is such an important time. Like, don't let this time go. Don't send them off to, have somebody else teach them when you don't know exactly what they're going to be teaching them. And that was always my thing. Like, I don't know what other people are, I don't know what somebody else's worldview is. And so I want to be the one still, even it's in high school, to be teaching them the majority of what they're learning. All right, so the first question is, we are starting 8th grade and thinking about high school. What do you wish you knew in 8th grade? I really think the only one that I can really think is when my oldest got to 8th grade, I kind of had a freak out moment. I kind of was like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I'm qualified. I'm sure like a lot of you guys have felt it as well. But I talked to a trusted friend, and some of you may know her. Her name was Cindy West. Her name is Cindy West, and I've followed her blog for years. And we talked on the phone, and she said, Alicia, I've known you for a long time, and you need to trust yourself to be able to teach all the way through. And she gave me some just encouraging words and told me where to get started. And I really think that, if you've homeschooled thus far and, you kind of go through your topics of study, right? Like, you have your language arts, you have your math, you have your history, you have your science, and maybe some extras and things like that. It's really no different for high school or for 8th grade even. You're just kind of moving up in levels a little bit. And then you kind of have a little bit more leeway, because you're kind of looking at the credits and, okay, well, they've already got 3 science credits. We can probably stop there. We probably don't need a 4th. So we can fill that slot with something maybe that is more interesting to them, or something that they're going to be using in their career going forward, if they know what that is. There's a lot of like leeway that you can do. So in 8th grade, I would just say, to be confident in your ability. You can do it. Don't give up at 8th grade or at high school. Keep going, because it is so worth it. The next question is, I would love to hear what your kids' post-high school plans are. I keep hearing about kids who immediately go off to college, but what about kids who don't know what they want to do yet? Well, so I've had 2 kids who have graduated, and very different. They're very different kids, and they're kind of going in different directions a little bit thus far. Now, I will say a couple of things. I do see, especially in the like conservative homeschool realm, there's kind of a push for just completely writing off college. Now, I do think, between you and me, I actually do think that a lot of college degrees are kind of useless in a way. You're really paying tens of thousands of dollars in many ways just to have your kids indoctrinated in stuff that you most likely do not agree with or would not want your kid to be indoctrinated with. So I do think that in a lot of cases, college is not the answer because, your kid may have no idea what they want to do. And then you're sending them for this sort of, we don't call them trades anymore, but if you're going into nursing, if you're going into engineering, like those are all actually like trades. Interesting because we kind of have we've had several generations now where we just all, well, what are you going to college for? And it's like, well, a lot of 18-year-olds don't know. And so I will say that I don't agree necessarily unless your kid really does have a firm grasp and has had a firm grasp for a while on what they want to do. They still may change their mind, but at least if they're pretty settled in what they want to do, say they want to go into nursing or whatever, I see no problem with sending your kid to school for nursing. We need, most of my followers are Christians. I am a Christian. We need Christian nurses. We need Christian lawyers, Christian doctors, lots of professions that require a degree. But that being said, if that is not your kid's desire and you're still telling them to go to a 4-year college just for what, then I don't agree with that. Although I do love the idea of a liberal arts degree because that is sort of in our homeschool, a continuation of what we're already doing in our homeschool. You are continuing to just further your education. So you are just becoming a more educated person. It's not like you are necessarily honed in on one trade of sorts, like nursing or electrician or, something like that. But you will finish, or your child will finish, having just really furthered their knowledge. So, and when you are educated, you can really learn anything. So I know people who have been, who have liberal arts degrees that have gone on to be, successful journalists, successful, in, just random things like banking and insurance and, just things like that. So I don't think that a liberal arts degree, as long as they're taking it at a place that is solidly rooted in a Christian worldview, a biblical worldview, I think that is a great option for a kid that doesn't know what they want to do as far as college goes. And then I think that if you really just don't want to go the college route and your child does not know what they want to do, have them work. I mean, get them, have them interview all over in different fields that they might want to try. Have them try lots of different things. I have one child that is going the college route, and I have one child that is started with some trade school and didn't really like the trade that he picked and decided to go another route. And so now he's working in kind of a more specialized trade that he's really, really enjoying. I really think it depends on the kid. And I really think that our approach has been with our boys that have graduated is to really take an open-handed approach and not be, too forceful in one direction or another. There are certain things that we weren't going to allow, but there wasn't a lot that was completely off the table. I hope that helps. It is kind of a convoluted answer, but I do think that sometimes when we get so staunch in one camp, then we have a child that comes along and just upsets the entire fruit basket, and it feels very unsettling. And so I just think to hold our sort of expectations and our plans loosely so that we can just kind of see what God has planned for them too. The next question is, going the unschooling-ish route for homeschooling high school, how would I do that? I'm the wrong person to ask because I don't love unschooling. Actually, I wouldn't know where to begin to tell you how to do that for high school. I am much too type A personality. I think in a lot of ways, unschooling for high school would not prepare them for college. But I'm sure that people can do that well. I'm just not a person that could do that well. Okay, the next question is homeschooling for the first time next year. My oldest is 7th grade. Feels scary. How do I start? Okay, I think I kind of covered this already. I think that basically you're just kind of following the same topics of study, but you are the same subjects that, that you've been teaching in the younger years, but some things are falling off because you've kind of moved past them, like kind of that elementary grammar, and maybe spelling can be dropped if your kid is a good speller. Some of those things can be dropped because you're going to be moving on to more intense, like writing papers and things like that. So you're just moving up a level in each of those subjects. Okay, the next question is, how do you decide which courses you are going to do dual enrollment versus at home? And this is a good question because I think that dual enrollment is a great option for homeschoolers. I actually did some dual enrollment as a high schooler. We were able to take it through our public school in class. But I do think that, okay, let me just say this. It makes me very sad when I see homeschoolers get to the point of having a junior and a senior, and then they completely enroll their kid in, we call it PSEO, which I actually forget what it stands for exactly in Minnesota, but the dual enrollment. It actually makes me a little sad because I feel like when your kid is primarily then taking dual enrollment classes, then there's not hardly any opportunity to do classes with you. And I guarantee your classes are better. And I know that sounds arrogant, but I don't mean it. I don't mean it in an arrogant way. What I mean by that is, as the mom, you are much more in tune to your kid, especially if your kid is taking like a dual enrollment over, online courses or something. You have a much better finger on the pulse of what your family needs. You can pause when you need to pause and linger things over longer that are, more interesting to your kid and like need more time instead of just rushing through. You also can tailor make your book lists. You can pick and choose what you want the course to look like. You don't have to follow the book cover to cover. You can, we just finished a bio course with my sophomore, and I went through at the beginning and I was able to pick and choose a few of the modules that I felt like, we actually just covered this super in-depth last year. I can take away, these 3 modules because we really covered them just last school year, that kind of thing. So I just think that your courses that you design for your kids or that you teach your kids are very likely going to be better quality than the college courses. There are some things that so back to the question, the way that I decided, the thing is that you don't want to be wasting this time. You only have 4 years for high school and it goes by so unbelievably quick. So you don't want to be wasting time on college courses of things that you've already covered. And I guarantee there's many things that you've already covered in your homeschool that they're going to then just go over in the college course. So, so you don't have to do that. And so the way that I chose the college courses is things that were as benign as possible in the realm of like biblical worldview, that kind of thing, like apologetics, some of those more intricate topics. I wanted to be the one to teach them. So if I had a choice between, world civilizations and kind of a college algebra 101, I would definitely go with the college algebra 101 because that's a very straightforward subject that they can kind of get out of the way. And then it's a math class that I don't have to teach that is a little bit more, a little bit less conversational and that kind of thing. So that's how I would choose it. If it's a course that I want to teach, then I wouldn't sign them up for that. And then also just things that would be more sensitive as far as things that I didn't want them learning from somebody else. And I do know, I mean, I'm sure there's going to be people watching that are like, yeah, but if they're in high school, they're going to be out at college soon. And so, they're going to be learning from other people. Of course, I know that, but why would I give up the time that I have now with them and let someone else have that time? So that's kind of how I feel about dual enrollment. I think that it can be good, but I do think that it's definitely overused. And I do think that you are giving up precious time that you could be teaching your kids much better subjects. So that's how I choose. I choose things that are going to be, just less sensitive and things that I don't want to teach necessarily. Okay, the next question is, what science are you using? So we use mostly Apologia. Right now, my sophomore she's just finished her high school biology. I have a video on that. It's wonderful. We did all of the dissections, all the things. That was pretty wild. Next year, she'll be doing Apologia's chemistry, so that will be interesting. And then we've also used like the 101 course, the 101 series. Those have a Christian worldview. Those are wonderful. Really loved those for high school. We did the physics one. But basically, that's all we've used for science. And we've done that at home. And then my oldest also did a couple of the Apologia science in a co-op setting. But I've actually found that it's cheaper to do it at home and much less hectic for our household to have to drive them, for a co-op day. And again, I'm just very picky with the time. And so I don't want to give up more time than I want to. And so, things like that, it's just, for me, just worth it to do it at home. So that's what we use for science. The next question is, what are your high school musts, the academic side and the life skill side? I would say definitely for academics, I want them to be able to write good papers. I want them to have, I want them to finish having been well read. I want them to have read a number of classics, a number of hard books that will maybe be not as, appealing for them to pick up later in life. I mean, I know sometimes when you're being forced to read something, that's when you do it, right? Because, I'm in a book club and I got to read this book by, Friday. So I'm going to just get it done and read it. So sometimes that's the kind of welcome pressure that you need to actually finish some of those things. So I want them to be well read. I want them to be able to write, good papers. And I most importantly, I want them to know what God's word says, and I want them to be able to defend the faith. So I want them to be very skilled at apologetics, and I don't want to say debate for the sake of debate. I don't want them to be just unnecessarily confrontational, but they're going to be faced with a lot of things, and they're going to need to know what they believe and why they believe it. So that being said, I want to have lots of rich curriculum that is teaching them, theology and apologetics and all of these things that are going to help them to really shape what they believe and understand why their parents have taught them this way for their, 18 years of living in our house. And so those are, on the academic side, but, I think a lot of that also carries over to the life side as far as just kind of life skills, what we would, typically categorize as life skills. I want them to be good drivers and be able to navigate around, whether we're in a city or, on a road trip somewhere. I want them to be able to, kind of work through some of those things if they are, new to a place. I think that's a really important skill. And then also it kind of opens up their world to, not be afraid to travel and do things like that with their own family someday or their own friends someday. Also being able to do some basic home, home things like their laundry. Do they know how to clean the bathroom? And not just clean it, but like clean it well. Their laundry, do they know how to actually do the laundry? Are they, putting it away and all of that stuff? How to keep their spaces neat and kind of what that means in life. How, like I've taught my kids, like you have to make your beds every single day because it's just a good skill in life to kind of have that area of your life together. I truly believe that when I don't make my bed in the morning, there is just something completely off kilter with my entire day. And I know there's some people that hardcore disagree with that kind of thing, but when my spaces are cluttered, my brain is cluttered. I cannot focus. And so those are some big ones. And then also being able to cook some things, at least a handful of meals if need be. So we're going to work on that this summer. But I would say those are just some basics. But you kind of just, I don't really have a running list or anything. You just kind of observe your kids. And when you're doing life together, you kind of are like, oh, you see just certain behaviors, you see certain patterns, and you're like, oh, okay, these are things we definitely need to hone in on and make sure that they are learning because we're kind of dragging in that area or something like that. So you just have to kind of observe your kids and see what they're really, really good at and see what, and praise them for that. And then see that the areas where they need a little bit of help and a little bit of nudging. All right, the next question is, if you don't use a co-op, where do you turn for courses that feel over your head? Well, there's definitely a lot of courses that feel over my head, but there are so many good resources. I think about, homeschoolers that started, 40 years ago or so when, a lot of states were still not even legal to homeschool in, and they did not even have a fraction of the amount of resources that we do today. So be thankful for that. There are so many good ones out there. And, I don't think that there's anything, totally wrong with the co-op thing. But I do think that we've kind of moved into a different era of homeschooling, even from when I started 16 years ago, where there are more and more people using and farming out more and more subjects. And so I think that, I don't think co-ops are bad, but I do think that you do need to weigh the pros and cons, right? So for me, I look at the cost of say an Apologia biology course online, and I don't know, I'm just throwing out numbers. I don't know exact numbers. Say that course is like $200 and it's all included. And then, I could also send, my sophomore to a co-op to do the exact same course, but it is, $250 a semester. And I also have to pay a materials fee. I have to pay an application fee, and I have to drive her, 20 minutes one way once a week. And it's just, I don't know, it just cuts into your week, and it's not as cost effective. So for me, I thought, I'm not going to do that with her because I could do it at home and we can just kind of put our heads together and figure this out. There are so many good resources as far as online courses go. So when I say that I don't use a co-op, I don't mean I never have used a co-op. And we do some enrichment classes. My kids go to band once a week where they are part of a homeschool band. And during that time, one of my kids does a fun art class. They've also done some gym classes and stuff like that. So we don't completely not use outside resources and things like that. I don't really consider that a co-op though. So I would say Compass Classroom is excellent. They have tons of, they have writing classes, grammar classes, literature, Latin, maybe some other foreign language. I don't know. They have a ton that we have really, really enjoyed. And then with those sorts of courses, I'm just kind of doing them alongside them. I'm correcting their papers. I'm listening to the discussion as they're listening to it. I'm going through narration questions and making sure they know what's going on. I'm showing them how to take notes, all of those different things. So I'm using an outside resource because it's an online course, but I'm very much involved and I'm really facilitating the course, even though I'm not teaching the course, if that makes sense. So there are so many of those things out there. Compass Classroom, Apologia Online. I know there's more, but those are the ones that we've used this year. So they're really top of mind right now. So I would just encourage you, if you're like, I don't really want to join a co-op, look around for something online to help you out. There's so much out there that can really be helpful for high schoolers. How do I list dual enrollment on a transcript? Okay, that's super easy. All you do is wherever you're going to put that class, if your transcript is formatted by school year, you just list all of, the way that I do it is I list all of his classes from the school year, and then at the very bottom of the list, I will write, you can write in either DE for dual enrollment or PSEO, and then they'll know what that means. And then I put the exact name of the course under that section. So you can also do it by subject, your transcript. And so you can have, your maths, your sciences, your language arts, your electives, your social, whatever they call it. So, and then you can put that right under there, put your PSEO, the name, and then the grade. Very easy. And then you could put a little key at the bottom just so, they know what those letters stand for, but they probably will, and there probably wouldn't be any question. Okay, the next question is also about transcripts. Transcripts, how do I do them? But also, how did we get here? Honestly, it's a good question. It comes way too fast, but don't be afraid. It is amazing. So transcripts are one of those things that is so much easier when you get it going and you're like, why was I afraid of this? I did the same thing. Go to hslda. I don't think it's .com, hslda.org. Maybe Homeschool Legal Defense Association, and they have tons of free ones that you can just download and fill them. There are transcripts by subject, so they're broken up into subject, or there are transcripts by school year, so the 4 high school years. And so personally, I fill out one of each of those for my high schoolers, so they both have an updated transcript by subject and an updated transcript by school year, so that I have both of them at the ready, because sometimes we'll get to that in a second. Okay, so that's how that goes. It's super easy. Just keep it saved, update it every year after, you're done with your freshman year, your sophomore year, your junior year, update it every time so that you know exactly where you're at and you don't have to search back, when your kid is a senior and you're like, oh my gosh, I have not updated this. So definitely do it this time of year at the end of the school year, do it now. Okay. High school credits in eighth grade. How does that work? I was really jazzed about this when my oldest was an 8th grader, because I was like, yes, we will do, 9th grade math and you'll get the credit early or whatever. It's fine. You definitely can. I mean, if your kid is taking a high school level course, give him the high school credit. And so you can just start their transcript early and, just put that into the 9th grade spot, I suppose. But, I have never had any issue getting an adequate amount of credits within the 4-year time period. I know some people have kids that want to graduate early. Unless you have a very mature kid, I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily want that, because I just wouldn't, but that's why you would do that. So, anyway, yes, you can definitely start high school credits in 8th grade if your child is academically ready to do that. Okay, the next question is, planning dual enrollment with at-home work and family trips doable? Of course, that's totally doable. That's what we have done. I just have not been, I have kept the dual enrollment at a minimum, so that there's plenty of time to do classes and credits around our own table instead of all through a college. So I definitely think that that is doable. Maybe you're asking, okay, I'm just reading this differently now. That does kind of cut into the family trip thing in the way of like, there's different ways that you can do dual enrollment. So you can do them online, in which case, as long as your kid could log in, I don't think it would matter if you're on a family trip or not. But if they have to be in class in person, then that does affect, because they a lot of time get points and get grades on their attendance. And so if you have a lot of trips planned, you really do lose some of your freedom. We actually experienced some of that this semester. We went on a trip and we had to kind of change the date that we were leaving because we needed to work around PSEO schedules. So I kind of hate that. But, I think you just have to weigh it all out, and you can plan your trips around breaks and stuff like that too. Yeah, it really just depends on the route that your child is doing dual enrollment. I have a couple questions left. Do you feel like colleges and high schools easily accept a high school transcript? Yes. Yeah. In fact, I've never submitted a transcript to a high school before, because we've never gone to a government high school, but the colleges, so I had, between my 2 boys now, they have applied to, would it be 7, 8 colleges, and they've been accepted to all of them. So the only one question that I got, the only email I got back from admissions one time was I sent them a transcript by subject, and they wanted it by grade. And so that's why it's a good idea to do both of them, just because you don't know what admissions is going to prefer. And so I was really glad that I had both of those up to date and ready to send over to them. So, just keep both of those filled out. But other than that, there was never any question. I would keep it up to date, and I would do it a thorough transcript and, have all of your ducks in a row, but I wouldn't stress out at all. Okay. Then what was my approach to electives, student choice, parent choice, career focused, or eternal focused? Really, I didn't, unless my kids were like, oh, I really want to learn this, which did happen a couple of times. I mostly planned what I wanted them to learn about. And then, and a lot of it was eternal focus, like things that I was like, this is definitely something I want them to know in life. And so definitely chose based on, not just fun and fickle things necessarily, but things that I was like, okay, I want them to leave knowing this. I can teach them, I can read them this book or whatever. I can't make them understand it necessarily, how this will affect them in life. But my hope is that I'm planting seeds that somewhere down the line, when they need this information, they've got it in there somewhere. So definitely that was kind of how I chose what electives they were doing. Some of it was based on what they were into. So I have, one child was getting really into lifting weights and doing it a lot. And I was like, this is definitely the amount of time you're spending and researching and learning from other people or with a coach or whatever, this is a credit. This is a weight training credit for sure. So there were definitely some of those as well, based on their kind of what they were interested in. And then the last question is, PSEO, is it a good idea for an 11th grader who doesn't know what they want to do after high school? Yeah, I think so. I mean, again, I just would not overdo it. I would definitely not give up those last 2 years of high school so that they can have, 20 credits of free college courses when, there's probably a 50-50 chance that they won't go to college these days. And so, I mean, I would just really play it by ear. I would definitely not go all in with dual enrollment. If it's me, if you're asking me, I only will allow 2 courses per semester, maybe 3, depending on what the course is. Sometimes they have like kind of short, like 8-week courses. And in that case, I would let them take 3. But I think 3 is even a stretch for a semester. And so that's just me. I know a lot of people want to do lots of them, and I just don't want to do that. So I want more time to do our own courses at home. So anyway, that's all your high school questions. I hope this was really helpful. I hope that it gave you some things to chew on and think about as you go and plan your high school years this summer. And I hope this helps. So if I missed something, or if there was something that was unclear, leave a question for me in the comments. And then also don't forget to check out the Fill Your Cup bundle, which is also a link in the comments below or in the description below. And I will see you in the next video. I hope you guys have a great day.